I've sold roughly 50,000 ornaments on Etsy through my shop, WimlyMugs. Today, through Inner Circle Prints, we fulfill hundreds of thousands of ornament sales for our sellers every single year. Now, what's interesting is that the same patterns that drove my success are the exact same patterns that successful sellers are using today. So rather than just teaching you theory in this video, we're going to jump into my actual Etsy shop. I'm going to cut through all the fluff and we're going to look at the exact ornaments that I literally sold thousands of times over. We'll compare them to what's working in today's market, and we'll focus on the areas that matter most if you're starting your Etsy ornament business in 2026. All right, so we're inside of my shop, WimlyMugs, right now, and I'm about to show you some of my best-selling ornaments of all time. Now, before we jump into these individual products right here, there's one thing I want to lead with on the front end. The product type of ornaments happens to be my favorite POD product of all time. Now, there's many different reasons of why I love ornaments so much, but the number one reason, and the reason why I feel it's applicable for me to tell you, is the fact that I've never seen a product type out there generate the level of success that it does for so many different individual sellers. I've not just seen a handful of sellers, not just dozens of sellers, but I've literally seen hundreds of individual sellers drive very meaningful results with this product type. So if you're someone right now who's wondering, what product should I take on next? Are ornaments right for me? The one thing I want to leave you with is if you really do double down, you really do focus on this build out, by the Q4 season, there's a very high probability that you can generate some very strong results with this product type in the Q4 season. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll through some of these listings in my shop because I want you to see just how many different individual ornaments did very, very well on Etsy. Now, typically speaking, in the POD space, you will have about 10 or 15% of your listings do the vast majority of your sales. Now, ornaments is that one exception type of product. For me, with my ornaments, I had my sales spread across so many different individual listings, which I cannot say the same thing happened for my other products. So the beauty of this is if you focus on the right markets and sub-markets, you're able to really pinpoint where the demand is. You're able to spread sales across many different listings, and you won't have to rely on just a handful of best sellers to carry the weight in your shop. So you can see that most of these listings did 100 or more sales. So you can see some did, just 160 sales. Others did hundreds of sales. Some of these even did like 2,000 plus sales. So the numbers were spread across the board, as you can see, listing after listing, hitting very, very large numbers. So what we're going to do next is we're going to jump deeper into my shop data. I want you to understand the product, the market, and the sub-markets at a whole new level so you can be successful with ornaments in 2026. Now, one thing I want to note is this is video 1 of a 3-part ornament series. So if you aren't already subscribed, make sure you do that now and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next 2 videos that are coming out. So the first thing we need to anchor down is which specific variation did I generate my success with, and which one should you spend your time on in 2026? Now, that variation is very clear. The 3-inch ceramic ornament with a gift box is the clear winner. Now, there are glass ornaments, there's obviously the ceramic, there's wooden ornaments, there's a lot of different variations out there, but the 3-inch circular ceramic ornament continues to outperform all variations by a long shot, even inside of 2026. Now, a major caveat to this specific variation is you must have a gift box if you want to succeed at a high level in the ornament space on Etsy. You can no longer get away with just offering an ornament by itself. The top sellers consistently have access to a gift box in their offer. So unless you want an inferior ornament listing up on Etsy, you need to have a gift box included in order to stand out, get the click-through rate you want, and of course the conversion rate as well. All right, so now that you understand which specific variation you need to focus your time and attention on in order to be successful with these ornaments, it's time to move into the markets and sub-markets that you should build your listings around. Now, there are 7 major markets of demand that you want to build the vast majority of your ornament listings around. So unlike many other product types in the POD space where you'll have a lot of like one-off individual markets here and there, ornaments have a lot of concentrated demand. So what this looks like is you have a lot of what I call stacked or layered search volume inside of each of these major markets. So you'll be going after a lot of sub-markets as well. So my goal for you with this is to identify what these major markets are and how to identify these sub-markets inside of these so you know exactly how many listings to build for each. So, major market number one, we have engagement. Now, in the engagement ornament market, we had 8 total listings live, which generated 4,492 sales on Etsy. However, we had one clear winner. This variation right here generated almost 2,800 sales on the platform, which was one of our best-selling ornaments of all time. Now, one fun fact about this design right here is no one's really leveraging this exact setup on Etsy at this point in time. So if you want some free game, whether it's the actual structure of the design, the fonts, the layout, the attributes, whatever it may be, you just might have a bestseller on your hands if you actually reference this one with over 2,800 sales of verified data. Moving into major market number 2, we have new home. Now, in the new home ornament market, we had 9 total listings live, which generated 3,582 sales in full. However, this variation right here definitely took the cake with over 1,400 units sold on the platform. Next up, we have the search category of baptism. So for the baptism ornament market, we had 6 total listings live that generated 1,986 sales. However, our best-selling design right here took home the win with over 1,300 sales on Etsy. Next up, we have the major market of search of people. Now, with people, I want you to think of the family members and relatives around you. So moms, dads, uncles, aunts, grandmas, grandpas, great-grandma, great-grandpa, and so on. Now, there are 2 distinct areas of the people search category that tend to do the best for ornaments. That is the announcement style ornaments. So like, hey, you're going to be a grandma. Or the memorial style ornaments, because those are very strong keepsakes. So inside of this specific market of search, we had 21 total listings active that generated 11,152 sales in total. Now, our best-selling one inside of the category of people was this grandma announcement ornament, which generated a collective 1,869 sales. Moving into major market of search number 5, we have pets. Now, we far underutilized this category of search. It is much bigger than the 2 listings we had active. However, with the 2 listings we did have active, we had 1,143 sales generated. Our best-selling one was this listing right here, which was a pet memorial ornament with 843 sales in full. Now, if I was to go back and relaunch ornaments, I would definitely double down a lot more in this specific category of search. In the category of pets, you have both the dogs, the cats, other animals even. You have different breeds and events. People love their animals and their pets so much, and there's a lot more width inside of this market of search than we leveraged. Next on the list, we have the major market of search of First Christmas Married. Now, for this market of search, we had 7 total listings live that generated 2,745 sales. But this design, which looks a lot like our engagement design, did a collective 548 of those sales. Now, just like the engagement design setup, this is one that you could cherry pick and potentially have a bestseller in your hands with leveraging this design structure. And then last but definitely not least, we have the major market of search of Baby's First Christmas. Now, inside of this market of search, we had 24 total listings, which generated 11,256 sales. Now, I think we got a little bit design happy with this one. I don't think you necessarily need 24 individual designs. However, there is a lot of demand for Baby's First Christmas. Now, with that being said, this was our best-selling Baby's First Christmas ornament with 1,267 sales. However, we had multiple ornaments that sold hundreds of times over in this exact same search category. So this just goes to show once again how important these submarkets are inside of each of these major categories of search. So with all of that data in place, we generated a collective 36,356 sales across these 77 listings we had active inside of these main markets of search. Now, the few takeaways I want you to grab from this are having more than one listing per individual major search market is extremely important. Some of these you might only have 5, others you might have 20 plus. So that is a massive piece. The gold is inside of the submarkets that exist inside of each of these. Secondary is we actually over-leveraged and under-leveraged some of these markets of search. If I was to go back today and rebuild, some of these I definitely wouldn't have had so many listings inside of that were competing with one another. and others I would have definitely built out more width. So the natural question you probably have right now is like, okay, how do I gauge how many listings I need to have per individual major market of search? So that is what we're going to get into next. So when you begin your research for each main market of search, there are a couple components you need to isolate in order to determine the total number of listings you'll need for each. Now, in this example right here, we have the engagement market. Now, there are 6 different designs in front of us. Each of these are all best-selling designs. Now, the 2 components we need to isolate are 1, the design itself, and 2, the metrics behind the design. So what we're looking for are fundamental differences between each of these. As you can see, we have a beach theme engagement, we have the mountain, we have the city, we have the map coordinates, we have the calendar, and we have the photo. So as we pull back the layers here, what we'll understand is that each of these 6 different ornaments actually serve an entirely different buyer on Etsy. Someone who's looking for a beach theme engagement is not going to be the same buyer who's looking for the coordinates or the mountain or the cityscape or the calendar and so on. These are actually fundamentally different buyers on Etsy, which allows us to create a separate listing for each of them. Now, there's another way to frame this to really help you solidify the differences for each major market of search, and that's by asking yourself one main question. If I was to go keyword this specific design right here, is it fundamentally different than the one I already have on my list? So in the example of the beach engagement ornament, would there be fundamental differences in the keywords I put in my title and my tags than the coordinates ornament? And a lot of times you'll see, oh yeah, there's clearly differences. Other times you might say, well, while they look a little bit different, while the style is a little bit different, the fundamental keywording is not. So if you can't qualify it through a keyword basis, then it would not qualify to be a separate listing on your list. Now, the other side of the equation is extremely important, which is the metrics behind the design. Just because you find a different design structure, design setup, design theme, does not mean it's going to qualify. You need to see the data on the listing that backs that, hey, this is a good one for me to spend my time on. So in the ornament market, since it is more seasonal, a lot of times you'll need to rely on data from tools like Everbee, or you can just look at the total favorite count on the listing, which gives you clarity that, hey, if there's hundreds of favorites on this listing, it probably sold a lot during the holiday season. So if the designs you're looking at have both strong metrics and clear differentiations between one another, you know that you can add them to your list, and this will give you clarity on the numbers needed for each individual market. So when looking at the market in 2026, there's really only one fundamental change that I would focus my time on. Now, this fundamental change is overlooked by almost every single seller entering the market because they don't know what to look for. So the design attributes, the listing structures, the markets, everything that I did with WimlyMugs is exactly what you're going to be doing today. However, there is one fundamental change that I would make that I would nearly guarantee an increase with click-through rate and conversion rate by doing this, and ultimately lead me to far more sales on the platform. And that one fundamental change is this: a heavy focus on photorealism. You can see that from these images right here. All 3 of them have the shadowing, the depth, and the authenticity that Etsy buyers love. Etsy buyers don't want to buy something that looks rendered or AI generated. They want something that is real. So if you are able to emphasize this in all of your mock-up photos, you're going to lead yourself to a lot more success with your ornaments in 2026. All right, guys, so in my next video of this 3-part ornament series, we're going to be deep diving into making ornament designs. We're going to teach you how to make a best-selling design from scratch. We'll also teach you how to create really strong photorealism with the shadowing and everything you need with your mockups so you don't want to miss it. Now, one thing I want to note here is we have an upcoming 8-week-long live implementation cohort, all based around the product type of ornaments. Inside of this cohort, you will learn from an active 7-figure seller, and you'll be able to build your ornaments out from the ground up. Now, across these 8 weeks, you're going to do every aspect to the ornament build, and by the end of the program, you can have over 100 listings active in your Etsy shop. So if you want more information on this live cohort, go ahead and check out the link in the description below. It will be a jam-packed 8 weeks, and you don't want to miss out. So all of that being said, I will see you in video number 2, where we go deep diving into designs. And in the meantime, let's grow, baby.